Welcome to the Elevate podcast, brought to you by the Registered Master Builders. Each week we explore the ideas and practices that help us get the best from our businesses, our teams and ourselves. I'm your host, Ryan Castle. We talk to experts, advocates and business owners in the construction industry to share their knowledge, insights and experiences to help you build a better business and enjoy a better life. Now let the business building begin.
Ankit, welcome into Chiefs Chat, Elevate Master Builders podcast. Great to have you on the show yet again. Understand Constructive 2024 has been a big part of your recent calendar. Can you tell us how that went?
Thank you, Ryan. It's great to be back on the podcast. We've had another fantastic Constructive conference this year. It was great to have a lot of conversations around some of the challenges we are facing as a sector, around the future of building and construction. One of the key themes around the conference, which we focused on, was innovation in action. And I think as a part of that, it was about reminding that as a sector, we have a collective responsibility to adapt and evolve to deliver in an ever-changing landscape. And we also recognize the tough economic climate we are in. And there have been a lot of reports of negative sentiments and pipeline challenges. Sentiments are backward-looking and influenced by our recent experiences, and pipelines are point in time. So one of the key points we discussed in the conference was we know from our experience post-GFC and COVID-19 lockdowns that both of these can change very quickly. So it's important for us to understand the outlook for our sector and what are the key factors which are driving this outlook. And we discussed that over a medium to long term, our sector has a positive outlook fueled by strong demand for housing and infrastructure. Another way of saying this is we're just not building enough houses in New Zealand. So there's a huge demand for what we need to do and offer as a sector. And as Reserve Bank will start reducing the cash rate and banks will start easing the lending conditions, we expect to see a strong recovery. So one of the key messages we wanted people to take away from the conference was that winter is here, but summer is coming. And we need to manage the winter, but also be ready that when the recovery comes, we can grow sustainably as a sector.
And I guess that's one of the things we've heard in construction sector for decades now is, we're not building enough, we're behind, we need more. We've definitely had some pressure in the economy. We know that interest rates have been a real constrictor and getting things going. We saw our first basis points cut from the Reserve Bank this month. Do you have any sense of, we've got 25 basis points, do you have a sense of what amount might be the real stimulus that we need in the construction sector?
I think it was quite interesting. We were talking about, recovery will happen when Reserve Bank will start reducing the cash rate. And that announcement came on the day one of Constructive. Yeah, I think it's great timing. So we've already seen some cooling effects from the interest rates, which should probably help to increase capital within the sector. I think based on what the economists are saying, the economy is, steam is coming off our economy. We're probably very quickly transitioning from an inflationary environment to a recessionary environment. So we will probably see a reduction in interest rates probably for the next 6 to 12 months, especially with what's happening in international markets, with Fed reducing their interest rates by 0.5 basis. And there's similar conversations happening globally. So almost, I think at a global level, macro level, we are coming off a period of high inflation to a period of recovery. Challenge for us would be, as soon as that recovery happens, we need to make sure we are geared up to deal with that. So that's making sure we are having regular conversations with prospective homeowners and clients. We are talking about a lot of successes we've had within the sector, making sure we've got the right workforce planning in place. So when we start seeing this recovery, we can actually take advantage of it and grow sustainably.
Yeah. And the challenge our sector sits in at the moment is, I think many of our members have been around long enough to know that the medium long term always gets rosy because of the cyclical nature of what we do. Unfortunately, we're in the struggle street time at the moment. So I think those things you're talking to, as much as possible, keeping that talented workforce that you've got, because we've seen that happen before, right? Where the boom comes, now suddenly there's massive demand in the market, and then you don't have the people to deliver on it. So we get some of the challenge for sure. So we have seen it before. I can understand you've also done a state of the sector survey. Can you maybe just give our listeners some context for what that survey is, who answers it, and then maybe reveal some of the insights?
So that's something we do as a part of a Constructive. We unveil our state of sector results. So this survey was taken by over 1,000 homeowners and 300 builders, something we do annually, and where we ask respondents about the experience they've had when building their buildings, thoughts on the economy, critical issues facing the sector, and overall sentiments towards the year ahead. And the headline message was that confidence is the key to our recovery. And I think as we look at the survey, we need businesses to have confidence in their ability to get finance. Equally, we want clients to need access to finance and also confidence the economy will recover so they can start committing to projects. Access to finance was flagged by 83% of respondents as the biggest challenge for building and construction in the current environment. Overlay that, inflation and construction costs in New Zealand has dropped below long-term averages. So I think this will provide more certainty to the market. At the same time, government has released a series of supportive policies to address both housing shortage and affordability. And I think these will help in time too. But an immediate relief will come when the credit conditions will start easing and we'll start seeing some confidence back in our economy. So that was one of the themes which came out of the State of Sector's result. Another theme which came out, which I think positively surprised us, was that despite a lot of media focus on building project failures, a lot of homeowners reported positive building experiences with the build they undertook in the last 2 years. And it's interesting to highlight the last 2 years have been extremely challenging time for the sector. We've had cost of living prices, we've had building cost inflations, labor shortages, project delays. So I think it tells us as a sector, we are doing a really good job in managing expectations of our clients and making sure they're good experiences. And we're also making sure we're managing those expectations on an average, a lot better. So we need to make sure we also share some of these positive success stories to kind of change the narrative, because a strong positive or negative narrative can become a self-fulfilling prophecy. So I think learning from the State of Sector survey, we know finance, access to finance is going to be the key factor. I think confidence is also going to be a key factor. We want people who are about to embark on their journey of building, taking on a new project, we want them to do that with confidence. So sharing some of these positive success stories also will be key to get that confidence back.
Indeed. And I think a very common theme around many of our Master Builders podcasts and webinars has always been communication. And I think our very good members are doing a good job of keeping their clients and their sub-trades involved in what's going on. And if they keep that communication up, it tends to lead to successful projects. So keep that going. Now, Ankit, I understand that you had Michael McQueen come along to Constructive, and he's a futurist. I'm always interested what futurists are. Are these people that turn up with a crystal ball and know exactly what's going to happen? What did Michael have to say?
Well, we wanted to talk about innovation. So we wanted to talk about how there's some headwinds which are hitting our sector, and innovation and change will be critical. So I think it was quite important for us to get thought leaders in that space to talk about what that actually means. And with various innovation, which is happening across multiple sectors, what we can learn in building and construction sector and in New Zealand to kind of take benefit of some of this amazing stuff which is happening. So I think Michael was talking about, and I think he brought quite a fresh perspective around how we can innovate and how we can adapt in a rapidly changing world. And he was challenging, I think, all of us to rethink our strategies and approach the future with the mindset that today's best practice won't be the best practice for long. So I think that was his key message. And we need to get ourselves comfortable with change. So he was talking about who knows what this change is going to be. The world is changing at a very fast pace. To predict the change is a lot harder, but to be in a position where we are comfortable with change, and as opportunities come up, we are in a position to recognize them and to work towards them will be quite key. Now, to translate that into what does that mean for our sector? So we've got some significant headwinds around climate change, sustainability, productivity, and affordability. And I think these represent both challenges and opportunity for our sector in the future. And in my view, we can either adapt to change and see this opportunity, or we'll be forced to change and we'll have to deal with the consequences. So there's a lot of innovation happening in building and construction sector globally. And I'll just talk through some of the key themes. There's a lot of work around productivity and efficiency. How do we use things like prefabrication, modularization, 3D printing to improve productivity? Resilience, how do we build buildings which can deal with climate change and natural disasters? sustainability, a lot of focus around building performance and embedded carbon, circular economy, materials which can be deassembled and reused. And I think there will be a lot of focus around how products are manufactured, which is environmental and societal impact. And it'll become increasingly important. So at Master Builders, we are very focused to ensure that our members are at the forefront of this change. So we can play a key role in building a sustainable, innovative, and productive sector. And that will be key for us to build a better New Zealand.
Indeed. Ankit, I was absolutely mesmerized. I was watching a video just last week of a 8-story apartment building that was assembled in 18 hours. So all prefabbed offsite, all electrical connections, plumbing connections ready to go. They were literally drove the essentially containers to site, slotted them into the steel frame, connected them up to services, and it was job done. 8-story apartment building in 18 hours. Just incredible, right? So this is some of the innovation that we've got going on. I'm interested to hear, I know you've been doing some work around a national consenting system. I think as we see innovation around AI, its ability to just process massive amounts of data, which the consenting system involves with, regulations and building requirements and different plans and all those kind of things. I'm sure we're going to start seeing some pretty cool innovation in that space. But could you give us an update maybe on what's happening around the national consenting system?
So we were privileged to hear from key political figures. So we had a Minister of Building and Construction, Chris Bank, attend the conference. We had Associate Minister of Housing, Tama Putaka, and Labour leader, Chris Hipkins, who all joined and shared their views on some of the challenges we're facing as a sector and their perspective on the future for the sector. So Minister Pank actually referenced to a possibility of a national consenting system, which obviously was a lot of interest to people in the conference. And I think it's a big interest for the sector. Talking about streamlining processes and improving efficiencies with better technology, which I think is what you're talking about, materials and information, especially with things like AI, it is absolutely crucial in New Zealand that we keep our building standards and practices fit for purpose. We just haven't done that. And when you look at processes, they shouldn't be set and forget. They need to be refined to improve both productivity and efficiency. And we haven't done that when it comes to consenting, which then creates red tape, which then creates a situation where the sector wants to innovate and move quickly, but the regulatory framework and consenting process are actually disabling us. So I think in New Zealand, we need to embrace innovation and change, build more sustainable, better buildings faster and better and quicker. And I think to do that, we need to look at our consenting system. So our view is consenting in New Zealand needs to be refined to enhance both efficiency and productivity. Now, government is looking to address this area. So they've proposed a lot of reforms to improve, efficiencies like remote inspections and a whole stack of changes. And I think these are positive developments, but their success hinges on consistent implementation across all the councils in New Zealand. So we need to not only find a way to improve productivity and efficiency, we need to do it in a way it's consistently applied across New Zealand. So a national consenting system or anything which improve consistency across New Zealand is a step in the right direction. And I think we need to do that, plus look at things like how do we use technology, AI, innovation, better materials to create an environment where we are building better buildings quicker, better, faster. So we don't be in a situation that it takes us 9 months to build a building in New Zealand, where in comparable international environments, they're doing that in half the time or even less.
Yeah, indeed. And again, I'm sure there's many of our listeners that found themselves nodding along as I was just then when you were saying these are all the things that we aspire to have. The conversation has been on the table for a long time about we need to get our consenting process sorted because it's the one thing that comes up all the time when we talk to our members. How do we make it better? Understand that there is a lot of different organisations at different levels of government, etc., that need to line up and team up and get it sorted. What can Master Builders or what is Master Builders doing to really try and lean in on that change?
So we have been having a lot of conversations across both sides of political spectrum. So talking about how important it is to have a productive sector and how important it is for us to make sure that red tape doesn't become the bottleneck. So we don't be in a situation that it takes us 9 months to build a building in New Zealand, where in comparable international environments, they're doing that in half the time or even less. of some of the key challenges in front of us. So if we look at a macro level, we just haven't built enough houses in New Zealand. So we've got a significant infrastructure and housing deficit. That deficit is now creating a significant housing affordability issue, where we've got a situation where we just can't build houses quick enough or affordable enough. And I think there are a lot of work we are doing as a sector around productivity, better buildings, materials, reducing costs. But red tape plays quite a significant role in overall cost of the build. And there have been some research which talks about that the real cost of the build is time it takes for us to build a house, and how many people have to come in and do multiple inspections. And you're running a build process, you now have to stop everything and wait for an inspector to come in. And loss of productivity on a building site is quite a significant issue in New Zealand. And talking to Shane Brearley in Simplicity Living around the work they've done around optimizing how they're using their resources and how much loss of time they're having on site, has played a significant role in their journey to reduce the cost of building by 30%. So the work we are doing is to talk to government around, for us to address some of these long-running issues around housing affordability, around housing crisis and infrastructure deficit in New Zealand. We have to look at consenting process. We have to look at red tape and create an environment where not only we're reducing costs, but we're also enabling innovation. So to give government the credit, they are actually taking all of this feedback and they've come up with quite a significant framework of policy changes, which in time, if implemented correctly, will have. Now it's just a matter of us providing those deeper inputs. So we've got work groups where we're getting involved, getting a lot of, I call grassroots information and feeding that to MB. So when they're actually making those decisions around those policy objectives, they're actually using the right information to make the right decisions. So I call it at a mechanics level for us to provide all that information, keep advocating for some of these strategic changes. And I'm hoping that we will see some of these changes start spilling through in the next 6, 12, 18 months. They won't make an impact on day one. I mean, this is an issue which has been built up over the last 10, 20 years. But any change in my mind is a positive change. And then you get enough changes, they compound and start having a transformational impact. And that's what we are hoping. And that's what we advocate for.
What did they say? The best time to plant a tree was 25 years ago, and the very next best time is today. So we're behind the 8 ball on some of these consenting reforms, but great to see master builders leading the charge and really holding the current government to account to try and get some of these things implemented. Those are some of the things that we've heard come out of conference, out of the survey that's been done. When you personally take a look, you're now leading the master builders organisation. When you look a bit further out, maybe 2025 and beyond, what is it that you're thinking about for the sector?
A couple of things. So I think there is a significant deficit of quality housing and infrastructure in New Zealand, and we need to fix that issue. And for us, it's both an opportunity and a challenge. So as much as, when the economy will recover, we'll start building more houses. Historically, we've never actually gone anywhere close to addressing this issue. So looking ahead, for me, the first thing I want to look at is what can be learned from what we have seen in the last 3 or 4 or 5 years. And I think the biggest learning and the biggest focus for us would be we need a strategic long-term infrastructure plan in New Zealand that aligns with population growth forecasts and includes a bipartisan support from both sides of political spectrum to ensure stability across political cycles. And I think that will be, if there's one thing we could do today, which will make sure that tomorrow is going to be better than yesterday, I think that's one thing. We need to make sure we as a sector work together and get there. Long-term infrastructure plan will smooth the boom and bust cycles. And government is a significant client for our sector. And a long-term plan ensures that government is not only investing when the economy is strong, but it also ensures that sector will become more resilient when we have future downturns. So I think that's one. We need to just get this long-term plan committed by both sides of the spectrum. Second for us is how do we grow sustainably as a sector? And there are 2 elements of growing sustainably. One is, I call it business planning, and second is financial resilience. So how do we plan our businesses that we've got the right workforce, that when we are taking on new projects, we can actually deliver them with good quality, and we've got the people and the resources and the materials to do that. So we don't end up in a situation of significant price inflations or project delays. And financial resilience is to make sure when we grow sustainably. We've got the right fundamentals in our business. We're getting the right support we are making sure that every job we undertake is standing on its own feet. So when you get in a situation that for you to survive as a business, you need new growth to pay for the jobs you're currently working on. I call it's like running a pyramid scheme. And that's where some businesses get into trouble. So for us, we need to make sure we learn from the experience we've had in the last 4 or 5 years to when the growth comes, we understand good financial resilience. We understand how our numbers are looking like, and we make sure we grow sustainably. So if we can do that, we as a sector can work together, support, and find a way to grow sustainably. And we can work with government to come up with a long-term infrastructure plan. I am very confident that we will continue to become more resilient as a sector.
Nice. And I guess some of our listeners might be like, oh, that sounds great. Doing business plans, where do I start? Would certainly encourage the members to go to the Master Builders learning platform, Elevate. Great courses on there around doing business plans, how to do costings, marketing, all sorts in there to help you with some first steps around that. And of course, our webinar series, which we bring guests and subject matter experts to help with those kind of things as well. So that would be a good place for our members to start. Ankit, thanks so much for sharing insights from Constructive and your vision for the, I guess, somewhat the economy, but certainly the construction sector in there. We know it's such a critical part of our country and our economy, and we just love the support you're giving to our members. Thanks so much for joining us on the podcast today.
Thank you for having me. It's an absolute pleasure.